What's up, my people? Today we are talking about diplomatic ways to say no. Do you struggle with that? I know, me too. A lot of us do, especially a lot of us women folk. So if this sounds like something you need, do you need scripts for saying no? Stay with me. And while you're at it, like and subscribe. Trying to get to that first 1,000 subscriptions, so every subscription matters to me. All right, let's dive in. Here's the thing. If you are watching this video, you're at a moment. Either you've been asked to do something and you don't know how to say no without pissing the person off or making a scene, or you have a pattern of not being able to say no. Either way, you're welcome. This is the spot where you are going to get the scripts you need. And the way I like to think about it is I only have a couple. There are a million ways to say no diplomatically. But when you're under pressure, because that's what it feels like when somebody makes a request of you and you really don't want to say yes, there's a kind of pressure that builds inside of us, right? It's that pressure of my instincts are telling me to say no. My heart and mind are telling me to say no, but my cultural programming is telling me to go along to get along. Or the culture of this business, this company, this community is to say yes to everything, right? It's when our instincts buck up against a cultural expectation of some sort, whether that's a corporate culture or a human culture or a family culture or a community culture. It's that same pressure. So when we're under that kind of pressure, that kind of cognitive load where we're like managing these competing forces, right? We have to honor the fact that that is inherently stressful. When we say no to someone, it feels like we're going to get kicked out of the tribe. And humans evolved to avoid getting kicked out of the tribe at all costs, because back in the Wayback Machine, if you got kicked out of the tribe, it meant certain death. So there is a reason you are resistant to saying no. It's not that you're a bad person. It's not that you have no willpower. It's not that you have no spine. It is that you are a human being, hardwired to stay within the safety of the tribe. So just knowing that can be such a relief, because we see it as a character flaw. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I say no? It's not a character flaw. It's in ya. But that doesn't mean that you can't use the most developed part of your brain to override the instinct. I want to give you 3 scripts for saying no diplomatically in 3 different kind of scenarios. The first scenario is for when there's no question. It is a boundary violation issue and it is a non-negotiable issue. And it's a very simple script. Are you ready? Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. No. I love that one. My best friend Erin gave me that script. That is when you are being asked to do something that you know is wrong, that you know is way outside the scope of what your role is, and it's like the 10th time you've had to push back on it. It can sound a little bit rude, because in certain situations, we have to be firm. Right? It reminds me of when I had a client that was she worked for the client that I was coaching, and she was very threatened by me. And she was doing that Cinderella stepsister thing where it's like, oh, Cinderella, sure, you can go to the ball, but first you must wash the clothes and sort the wheat from the chaff. I don't remember. Anyway, it was that kind of vibe. And I had been trying to do the Cinderella jobs, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not getting paid to do all this stuff. My job is this. It's to get this spokesperson ready to go out on stage and slay. Why am I in charge of all this random stuff? And after many attempts to push back, I finally just had to say, absolutely not. That is outside the scope of my work. Thank you, next. And it works. It's a bit of a nuclear option though. It's not a no that is soft. It is a no that is, I've had enough. It is direct, it is crisp, and it is very easy to remember under pressure. So that's the nuclear option. The second script I want to give you is this one. That just doesn't work for me. I love that one because it's softer, right? It's a softer, gentler, neutral no. That just doesn't work for me. What it indicates is that you are not someone who will allow her or his boundaries to be, or their boundaries to be eroded. Right? I'm so sorry, that just doesn't work for me. I also love it because there's no judgment placed on the asker. It's simply, I'm so sorry, that just doesn't work for me. It also sends a signal that you're not here to explain yourself. Here's the thing, chronic yes-sayers forget. We don't often owe anyone an explanation. We really don't. Sometimes we do. If we're being asked to do something that could be considered part of our job description, that could be considered part of the sphere of things. We have to be careful with that, and I'll give you a script for that. But if we're being asked to do something that really does cross over a boundary, maybe it's a commitment we've made to something else, whatever it is, this script is great because it sends a very strong signal while also being soft. You know what? That just doesn't work for me. And you'll notice the tone of the voice is so important. Absolutely not. Versus, you know, that just doesn't work for me. You can see how different the tones are. Remember, what is it, like 80% of the meaning people extract from a conversation is nonverbal? So much of it has to do with tone, body language. If you've got a big no you gotta give and you're worried about it, record yourself. Use that smartphone of yours, record yourself. Watch the recording back with the volume off so that all you're watching is body language. You will learn a lot about yourself that way. In fact, when I work with clients one-on-one, I will often record them and have them watch it with the volume off so they can see what their bodies are doing, what signals the body is sending. So be mindful what signals your body is sending. The third script and final script is this one. I love this one. You know, I've given it a lot of thought and it's just not something I can commit to right now. I've got X and Y and Z priorities and I just won't be able to execute on those while also executing on this one. But thank you for the offer. I love that one because a lot of people, when they ask us to do something, they get very hurt if it seems like we're just knee-jerk responding no. For some people, hearing that we've taken time to consider it feels good to them. It feels like their request was honored, their request was taken seriously, that their request meant something to you. And so in those situations, just acknowledging, look, I've given this a ton of thought. And sometimes you might even want to start by thanking them. You know what? Thank you. I've given this a ton of thought, but it just doesn't work for me right now. If the person you're speaking to is someone, you know, you have an important relationship with, it can be powerful to say, my priorities are X and Y and Z right now. And I want to execute on those priorities with excellence, and I just won't be able to while also executing on what you've just asked me to do with excellence. So I'm gonna have to pass, but thank you. Right? That's a much more sort of soft, empathetic, compassionate response. But here's the thing I really, really, really want you to notice. When you say no to someone, whether it's option A, absolutely not. Option B, that just doesn't work for me. Or option C, I've given it a lot of thought and it's just not something I can commit to right now. Watch how they respond. You will learn a mountain of information and insight about this person based on how they respond. For example, if you say absolutely not and they respond by continuing to push, you just need to end that conversation. If they respond by continuing to push on you despite these very high quality no's, despite these very diplomatic no's, that should tell you something about them. You should be careful around that person. Or if they push back on you because they don't agree with the boundary you've set because you have differing viewpoints about what's included in your job description, that's important to know too, because you might be wrong. It might be part of your job description, or it might be something that should be a priority. And we need to be willing to look at that, right? But you can't get that kind of clarity. You can't get that kind of insight unless you've learned the nature of a high quality diplomatic no. Look, I hope that was helpful. I know saying no is hard, but you can do it. I've seen you in action. You're marvelous, darling. Okay, not really, but I feel that about you. Anyway, drop me a comment, like, and subscribe as if your life depended on it. And drop me a comment. Let me know if it worked. Shine on. We need your light. See you next time.